belt-fed light machine guns are based. What is up, you sexy YouTube mother lovers? Yes, that is right. Today, we are going to be playing around with the MG3, aka my emotional support machine gun. Now, normally I like to keep the vest on her when we're out in public, taking walks, you know, going to the local eateries and such, but since we're out here on private property, no harm in letting her stretch her legs a little bit, get some exercise. We're going to be doing a deep dive into the MG3/MG42 operating system, showing you how this bad boy works, and shooting a lot of very, very expensive belted ammo. So what is the MG3? The MG3 is kind of the new hotness for Germany post-World War II, where they decided that they created the ultimate light machine gun fucking ever, the MG42, but they also now hate the communists and needed a NATO caliber. So what is Germany to do? Well, West Germany. Do they create a better machine gun in this new caliber? No, when it ain't broke, don't fix it. They just made a fucking MG42 in 308, aka 7.62 NATO, 762x51. It's an MG42. On all levels except caliber, it is an MG42.
On all levels except physical, I'm a wolf.
They started producing this bad boy in 1959, and they're still in use in the German military today. Probably a little weird accepting Germany into NATO, using the same weapons that they had just fought a war, like less than a generation earlier with. Because post-World War II, this thing wasn't a Nazi killing machine the same way NASA wasn't a Nazi rocket research program. Which is to say, you weren't a Nazi if it's the 1950s and you're helping America beat communism. The original MG42, of course, which this is based on entirely, not only cosmetically, but in its operation. This is, I mean, they're straight up, the parts are interchangeable. This is a fucking MG42. The MG42, of course, being affectionately nicknamed Hitler's buzzsaw. This one's kind of more of a, I guess, Merkel's buzzsaw.
How dare you stand where he stood?
Yeah, I'm just gonna pole vault right the fuck over that one. I learned from Kanye. So we're going to be shooting this gun a little bit more, but we're going to do a technical breakdown as well, showing you kind of how this gun works. And if you enjoy stuff like that, if you'd like to pursue your career in gunsmithing, I would highly recommend checking out SDI, who has helped us pay for a lot of the ammo for this bad boy. Because linked 308 these days is just over $1 a round, and that shit goes fast. So we've got a V-notch rear sight here that goes all the way up to 1,200 meters. A little optimistic, but with volume by fire, not altogether unreasonable. We've got a blade front sight here, which also flips down, so it doesn't snag on shit. Useful for when you're putting it in the back of your Ford Raptor and you're not trying to completely rip your seats to shit. Your bipod down here at the bottom goes into one of those little port vents there. So you see here, that little nook there, this thing just folds in and hooks in place so you can comfortably carry it over your shoulder and look like an Imperial Stormtrooper, or the other kind of Stormtrooper. So now on to our safety. Your safety is right here, so this is safety off. We will push this in, and now you can see this comes through the other side. And if you're going to fire, all you have to do, push that through to where it's not in the way of your thumb anymore, and you are ready to shoot. Just once again, showing clear. Gonna go ahead and send the bolt home. A lot of the reasons we leave the bolt back on this one is because you can't actually open and close the top cover for display for you guys without the bolt being to the rear. I'll show you why that is later. But our charging handle here, we grab this, claws open like that, pull it all the way back, and then just push it all the way back forward, and then you are ready to send it. That it just feels really cool. Now for our top cover, you just kind of palm this back bit here, flips right on open, and you can see the guts of the gun, and we will get into this a little bit later. So if you're loading this by opening up the top cover, this is where you do your business and slam it back down, or if you're clearing the gun, this is where you would check to make sure the gun is clear, but you just put that down, either smack on it, or you can just kind of push this forward and push the top cover down. And that, just in case you ever needed it, is the basic manual of arms on the MG3. ADD break! Got your attention now, don't I? 1, 2, 3. I am going to go out on a limb and say that we got him. So we have a lot of destruction here, clearly. Not only that, but we managed to literally dig a hole in the earth behind the target. We actually have a couple of survivors. Holy shit, I think they managed to get out of the landing craft in time. Oh, that guy's not so lucky. Smells great, though. Survivors? Well, I will see you at Nuremberg. War crimes aside, let's start breaking the gun down. So first off, you're going to notice one of the big features of the MG42 and its derivatives is the barrel change. And so the way that you do that is, when your barrel gets nice and hot because you've been laying down a lot of lead, you're going to want to swap out to a fresh barrel, preferably with a set of very thick gloves, because those barrels are toasty. Nothing says light machine gun like third-degree burns. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this barrel door here and you're going to palm that open, just kind of like, it's the same mechanism as the dust cover here, the top cover. Open that up, and what that does is that opens up this little hatch here. And so this allows you to have access to the barrel. As you see here, it's got a little track right there. That you see this little slot cut on the top and bottom, has that on both sides, and that fits into a groove here as you reinsert the barrel. So let's say you pass this off, and just kind of hot potato that to the guy in the trench and hope he catches it with gloves. You pass in, you put in your new barrel, and feed that into the front there. As you see, this little groove is going to catch right there. And so this goes in as the barrel door closes, and voila. You are now locked in place and ready to continue laying down fire. Now you may notice the absence of a gas system on this gun. I'll explain that. First off, before we disassemble, I'm going to send the bolt forward, because obviously you're not going to want to have the bolt back for this next part. I'm going to grab this little lever at the bottom and rotate the stock. And then this whole thing is going to come out. So the stock, I'm just going to put this down here. And this is where we have our big-ass recoil spring, because this is a fast gun, and 8mm or 308, really nothing to sneeze at. So yeah, you want a nice little beefy recoil spring. Open up the top cover, and this is where we'll pull the bolt out of the gun. It just slides right out the rear, and voila, we have our bolt. So this little knob up top is what rides in this track, which is why, when I was talking about earlier, why you have to have the bolt all the way to the rear to be able to slam the top cover down, is because it has to fit in the middle of this track, because if you try to slam it down forward here, you're going to have a bad day. Other machine guns like the M249 SAW had a pretty interesting fix to that problem. People have gotten around it over the years, but for the original guns like this, you're going to want the bolt back to be slamming the dust cover or the top cover home. So this is our MG3 bolt, and so what this is kind of the body of the bolt is kind of a crude casting. I always was kind of entertained by that. And of course it's German, so they electropencil number fucking everything. But this rides through the gun like so. You have your extractor at the bottom of the bolt face here. This is your bolt face, obviously, where your hole there where your firing pin protrudes. But this whole assembly up front is a roller lock. Not quite like a roller delay like, say, the MP5, but a similar concept. So the way this actually works is this: as this is traveling through the gun, the rollers are back like this, but once it gets to the front, it has a lockup in the barrel assembly, like right here in the front trunnion, that swings these out, and these lock against the sides to make sure that this bolt doesn't go anywhere. Now, if there's no gas system, how can you unlock this? Because if it's locked, it stays in place. That's the whole point of a locking system. If there's no gas system to push this back, that's just fucking crazy talk. How did they manage to do this? Calm your fucking jets, guy, okay? I'm getting there. It'll be alright, take a fucking Xanax. So the way it actually does this is by also operating slightly on short recoil. You see, this barrel reciprocates backward just ever so slightly as the weapon fires. Not very much, but just enough to unlock the bolt and be able to allow it to travel back through the receiver and cycle another round. And it does so fast as fuck. This thing can achieve a cyclic rate of up to 1,200 rounds a minute, which, as you saw, is fucking gnarly. So now we're going to put our roller bolt back in to the gun. There we go. Gonna put our recoil spring into the gun and our stock behind it. So that's gonna be, again, going and rotated about 90 degrees and spin back into place. And voila, our MG3 is back and ready to fire. So yeah, that is the operating mechanism of one of the most successful light machine guns of all time. So successful that plenty of countries and companies have been borrowing its homework basically since it was invented. Now, the MG3 traditionally feeds out of non-disintegrating links like this, which anytime a new proprietary belt is introduced to the equation, my sphincter tightens a little bit because these are usually kind of a bitch to load. But this one in particular isn't too bad. This is actually one of my favorite belts to load by hand because it's so easy. Just pop the round in here. There's this little claw that sticks out toward the end. That's the end you feed it through. Just push it in and it snaps into the rim. And it's literally that easy. If you know how hard it is to load other belts by hand, you know how much of a dream this is to do. And there is actually a loader for this as well. But yeah, just push it on through. It snaps in on the rim. And then you rinse and repeat for as long of a belt as you want. So you got the non-disintegrating belt here, but you can also link them together for a longer belt. I think the standard for these is 50-round non-disintegrating belts, which is super convenient because that allows you to use your nutsack. Specifically, your 50-round assault nutsack. So what this is a polymer drum that is made by HK, actually. You press this little button here, and it can open up, and this is where you kind of store your ammo. It's not a magazine per se, there's no spring or assembly or anything here, it's more just like storage for your belted ammunition for the MG3. When you're done, you kind of mostly close that back over, leaving, of course, space for the belt to feed through. Flip this over, grab your feed tray, and you just kind of line up the slots here to where they correspond. Hit this little paddle here, and now you have an MG3 with a 50-round assault nutsack. And yes, I did just say assault nutsack with a straight face. This fucking job, man. So one of my favorite things about the MG3 is that because it's kind of like a 308 NATO spec gun, not only does it take its own proprietary MG3 links, but it also takes more common disintegrating links like you would find in an M240 Bravo or an M60. If only I had an M60 here to demonstrate. Anyway, here's my M60, so we're gonna go ahead and show you here. Just open this top cover up top. As you can see, a lot of influence on a lot of machine guns that came after from the MG42/MG3. This whole top cover assembly is, it's the same picture. I'm gonna load this bad boy up. All right, confirm our bolt is back. We'll go ahead and lift that up out of here. Do a combat rollover to our other light machine gun. Pop our cover. Put brass to grass. Load up our gun. And now we're killing again. That's how you done this, does it? So like I said in my original premise, belt-fed light machine guns are based, but there will always be a special spot in my heart for the MG42 and its derivatives, like the MG3. So, with that, I would once again like to thank all of you sexy YouTube mother lovers for staying to the end of the video. And I will see you next time around. Look like sexy Burt Reynolds pose right there. I'll not do that again. To make the perfect weapon, like Rasputin rise to the top.